Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are very glad to have you on the line this afternoon, and we're going to get started. On the screen right here, you'll see a reminder of our audio information for this webinar. If you need to phone in, there is a toll-free number. We hope that you are in a comfortable seat today and that you are able to listen in and have some great questions for us as we go through this presentation. Before we get started, we would like to remind you of just a few logistics. If you've been with us on a webinar before, this will all be very familiar. As you're logged in to GoToWebinar, you will have a gray panel down one side of your screen. And in that panel, you'll see a question box. So if you have any questions, either during our Q&A portion of this session or at any time, please feel free to put them into that question box and we'll get to them when we're able. You have been put on mute for this webinar, but we definitely want to hear from you, so please share questions as you think of them. You'll also find a handout in the handouts portion of that panel. Feel free to download it and refer to it during the presentation or hang on to it for later. And we will make sure to share all webinar slides with you as well as a recording of this session within a few days. We would like to first begin by acknowledging that we are joining you from Toronto, which is situated upon traditional territories. These territories include the Wendat, Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations, and the Métis Nation. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Today, the meeting place of Toronto is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have this opportunity to work in the community and on this territory. We acknowledge and thank all of you here with us on the line, joining us from across traditional territories, and we're honored to be having this discussion with you, and we thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. We at Prosper Canada, we are a national charity dedicated to expanding economic opportunity for Canadians living in poverty. As Canada's leading financial empowerment champion, we work with partners across all sectors to ensure that Canadians, regardless of income, have access to financial programs and products and services and advice that they need to build their financial well-being. And access to benefits and emergency supports that you'll hear about today are certainly part of that vision. We are excited to bring you this presentation today. This session is all about introducing you to our Financial Relief Navigator, which is a tool that we've developed here at Prosper Canada. Galen MacLusky and Janet Flynn from our office will be sharing with you all the great information about how we develop the tool and what it does, and we'll be guiding you through a walkthrough of the tool to see how it works using a case persona. We'll also share some tips with you, and then we'll hear from Sue Collison, who is financial empowerment staff at the Working Center in Kitchener-Waterloo, who has had some firsthand experience using the tool already with her participants. And then, as we mentioned, we look forward to hearing your questions towards the end and get some feedback from you as well. We'll be sure to share the link of the tool with you so that you can go ahead and start using it and let us know what you think. So let's share some information about our wonderful presenters. Galen MacLusky is a service design lead here at Prosper Canada, focusing on designing financial empowerment services that put client needs and perspectives at the center. He has been closely involved in the development of this tool and is looking forward to speaking with you today. Janet Flynn next. She gained her financial experience in the private sector and now works at Prosper Canada on our program development and implementation team, working with organizations to help enhance the lives of others. In addition to this experience, she has volunteered as a financial coach and a tax preparer, and has a lot of experience helping vulnerable Canadians become financially empowered. So welcome, Janet. And third, Sue Collison has worked in the financial sector and healthcare sector, including work with seniors and mental health and addictions for over 30 years. And in 2011, she got her dream job, marrying all of these together in her position as a financial empowerment problem solver at the Working Center in Kitchener-Waterloo. And finally, my name is Glenna Harris. I'm Manager of Learning and Training here at Prosper Canada, and responsible for developing a variety of financial education, training, and resources that we hope will be of support to everyone across the field. So welcome to our panelists, and we hope that you'll enjoy hearing from everyone because we've got a lot to tell you. But before we hear from our presenters, we would like to hear from you. The Financial Relief Navigator has been out for a brief while in pilot mode, and some of you may have already used it before. And we'd love to hear if you have experience using it, and perhaps you have, perhaps you haven't, perhaps you would like to, perhaps you have a slightly different answer to this question that you'd like to put into the question box just to let us know more information or different information. I'll give everyone about 30 more seconds to respond to the poll. All right, so I'll close the poll in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So it sounds like we've got mostly new folks on the line for the tool, Janet and Galen. You'll be pleased to know you have a new group of folks ready to learn all about it. And I can see from our attendance list that we've got almost 200 of you listening with us. So that's really exciting. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Janet to start our presentation. So welcome, welcome, Janet. Oh, Janet, I don't know if you're speaking yet. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Great.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Glenna. Well, welcome everybody. And we have 3 goals for you today in today's webinar. And the first is really for you to understand how you might be able to use the Financial Relief Navigator, or FRN as we call it, to help your clients when you work with them. And we'd really love for you to share your thoughts on what you think we could change or adapt in the future. We've received a lot of really valuable feedback so far from our financial empowerment partners as we piloted the tool, and we want to continue to improve it. So we really hope that once you do get a chance to go in and take a look around, that you can give us your feedback. And thirdly, we hope that you're equipped after today's webinar to be able to share this tool with the general public and also with your clients. Next slide. So just to put into context why we created the Financial Relief Navigator, I'm sure you may know, and it's still actually quite shocking to see it in writing, but over half or almost half of our Canadian working population, so over 8 million Canadians, have lost their jobs or seen a drop in their income due to COVID-19. And obviously they're urgently seeking financial relief. So for many Canadians who were already living on low incomes prior to the pandemic has really just made their lives that much more worse. And there has been very fast response, as you know, from governments and other institutions who have responded with very important relief measures. But yet the vulnerable Canadians and have found it very difficult to navigate to find these benefits and to be able to access them successfully. There's many barriers that are involved: language, literacy, maybe they don't have a computer, or any other barriers. So the Financial Relief Navigator, we hope, will help relieve that. Next slide. So for those of you, which seems the majority in the poll, who haven't had a chance to look at the Navigator or gone in and take a look, what exactly is the Financial Relief Navigator? So it's an online tool that helps vulnerable Canadians access critical emergency benefits and the financial relief that are from governments, financial institutions, telecoms, and internet providers. What is really good about this tool is that it's very simple. It has very intuitive, easy navigation, and it's written in plain language. And very importantly, it does give information on how these new emergency benefits may impact those who are already receiving benefits, such as OW or CCB or EI, any of those. And lastly, it's a one-stop resource. So we've heard a lot of people saying, you know, it's very confusing. There's so many websites out there that talk about relief. A lot of them focus just on government supports, not necessarily anything from financial institutions or internet providers. And they're not exactly easy to navigate. So this is a one-stop place where you'll be able to find all of those different kinds of benefits in one spot. And we'd also like to acknowledge the funders that you see on the page there who have helped support the early creation of the Financial Relief Navigator and gotten it to the point that it is today, as well as the, as I mentioned earlier, the financial empowerment partners who have tested it through the pilot and offered the feedback, which has formed the way you see it as well. Next slide. So what exactly is in the tool and what is not? So all the federal and provincial and territorial benefits that have been created as a result of COVID-19 has been included, which are to help families and individuals increase their income and or lower their expenses. However, it does not include going to that lower level, municipal or local benefits and supports. You may want to work with your clients to kind of go to their local sites to see if there's anything in there that might be offered for them. Also, it does not include broader funding allocations or supports that do not give a direct financial benefit. And as an example of this, the government has given $9 million to United Way Canada, or through them, to go to local organizations that actually support senior programs. So because that's not actually going to an individual, those kind of supports we do not include in here. As well, we don't include the pre-existing non-COVID benefits. So things like EI, CCB, OW that they may already be receiving. However, we do include in here if there's been some kind of modification or special emergency element of those. So for example, the CCB had that one-time increase in May. Things like that we will include, but not the base CCB. It also includes benefits and relief offered by many financial institutions, telecom companies, and utilities. And you'll see many is bolded because we don't have all institutions. We've kind of stuck with the bigger ones. And you might have a client come and say, you know, I don't see my cell phone provider in that list. There might be a lot of smaller players that are not included. And in that case, again, we would advise that you have the client go to that particular institution either by phone or internet and see if they do offer them anything. As mentioned, it's very simple selections to be able to describe your situation, so the filtering system, and Galen will be showing you that when he takes you through the live example. And it will not give you a precise list of all the benefits you qualify for. So if you did do a filter and you only saw, you know, very few come through, the alternative is to go into the full listing option that you'll see, just to see if there are any other benefits that may be applicable for your client that may not have come through the filtering. It does have really good overviews of each benefit, and you'll see that as well when Galen takes you through it. But of course, it doesn't answer every single possible question you could have. you'll see that every single benefit that's listed has a reference section, a reference link, which will take you to the source that we had used to get that information. And there you'll be able to get a lot more detailed information on the benefit or support, as well as some of those references have Q&A sections. Right now, the tool is available in English, and it will be available in French later this month, I believe on the 24th. And however, we don't have any other languages in there. We would ask those who do have multiple languages that they can help those who may potentially have a language problem to help them understand what is in the tool. So now I'm going to pass it over to Galen, who'll give you a little summary and take you through an example, a real life example using a persona.
Great, thanks so much, Janet. I'm excited that we have so many people on the line who haven't had a chance to dive into the tool yet, because this is going to be a real opportunity for us to walk you through how we thought about designing the tool. And I'll also get to show you some tips on using it to get the most benefit out of this tool. But just to build off of what Janet was saying, our goal here is really to create a single resource from which both staff and also vulnerable Canadians themselves can learn about the benefits that apply most to their situation, take next steps to get these benefits, and know where to go for more information. So that's what this tool provides and what you can rely upon it to do for you. So for today's walkthrough, as both Janet and Glenna mentioned, we're going to have a persona that we'll use as an example case to show how you might use this tool depending on their particular situation to find the benefits that would be most relevant to their situation. So our persona, Glenna, if you can go to the next slide, please. Our persona is Farah. She's in PEI. She's caring for 2 children at home and is self-employed, primarily as a life coach, but also as a freelance writer. And so she's in kind of a tricky situation right now because she's still earning money, but her income has dropped because of COVID-19. And so she's worried about paying her rent and bills. She's wondering about whether or not she should be applying for the CERB, and curious about whether there's other benefits and supports that can help her out in this situation. So we're going to use Farah as an example when we actually walk through the tool. So we're going to go over to my web browser. Glenna, if you can pass over the control to me and then I'll take it from there. Perfect.
Yeah, you should be good to go.
Awesome. Just confirming, Glenna, are you seeing my screen right now? Oh, here we go.
Yes, we got you.
Okay, great, perfect. I always like to make sure before I dive in and talk about things that no one's seeing. So this is the main page of the Financial Relief Navigator, and we'll talk through the 3 main sections of the tool that you can use in your work with clients, or that clients themselves can use to navigate all these benefits. So section 1 over here in this tile is the benefits you could get. And that's probably the main way we see people using this tool. In this section, you answer a few quick questions about your situation and you get a filtered list of the benefits and relief measures that match your particular situation. You can also use this second tile to view all of the benefits. So if you want to know all of the benefits and relief measures that we've captured for your province or territory, you can go here to find that out. And number 3, if you want to share this tool with others, if you want to post a link on your website or embed the link, this is a place where you can go to get that content for you. So we're going to start with benefits you can get. Again, working through the example we have with Farah. So we click on view this section, and this takes us to the benefits you can get page. And there's 2 sections for you to fill out to get a filtered list of benefits. Number 1 is choosing the province or territory that you're interested in learning more about. So in this case, we are using Prince Edward Island, so we're going to click there. And then there's 4 broad pieces of information that correspond to different situations that people might find themselves in right now during the pandemic. I'm having trouble paying my bills. my income has dropped because of COVID-19. I was on social assistance and or not working before COVID-19. And lastly, there's a tell us more about you section, which will help give some specific details about your situation. So using Farah's example, we know she's having trouble paying her bills. She's concerned about that. So let's click in there first. And now what you can see is this pop-up emerges with some different options about things that Farah might be concerned with. So things like, I need help with paying rent. I need help with paying my mortgage. I need help with paying my bill, like my telephone or electricity bills. And I need help with money that I owe, like any credit card debt or outstanding loans. So what we need to do is check all that apply to the situation of the person who's looking at this tool. I should mention here that the more items you check, the more results you will get as well. So even if you're working with a client and they're coming to you saying that they do need help with paying their bills, but they're not necessarily concerned about paying their rent, it may be helpful for you to explore whether that would be something that might help them to know more about supports or any information on evictions that are happening during this time. So in Farah's case, we're going to tick, I need help with paying rent, I need help with paying my bill, and I need help with money that I owe as well. So we're going to use these three, and we click done. Now we're going to move on to the next section. My income has dropped because of COVID-19. Absolutely, that's true in Farah's case, so let's go in here. Again, there's a few different options, and again, it's a check all that apply situation. So in Farah's case, she hasn't fully lost her job or is totally not being paid due to COVID-19. She hasn't indicated that she's sick, self-isolating, or caring for someone else, which might be another reason why people can't work or aren't making an income right now. She is still working, but fewer hours than before, and she is self-employed, freelancer, and independent contractor. So we're going to check those two boxes and click done. Now, Farah hasn't indicated that she's on social assistance or that she wasn't working before COVID-19, but we'll click in here just so you can see the options. And you can see if you have people who are working with you who are receiving income support for disability, there's a box here to check. If you have people who are on income support for unemployment, for example, you can check this box. And if you have people who were just looking for work, who weren't working before, there's a box here to check as well. Since none of these apply to Farah's case, we're going to leave them all unchecked and click done. And then in the last section, tell us more about you. This is broader information about a person's circumstances that will also help us raise some benefits that might be helpful to them. So things like whether they're a senior or a student, whether they're taking care of a child or they're a caregiver for another adult, and lastly, whether they're an essential worker. This one these days is really important because likely many of you have started to see some benefits and kind of pay increases or top-ups for people who are essential workers during this period. So in Farah's case, the one that qualifies for her is she's taking care of a child. So we're going to click that one and click done. And then now we need to click show me, now that we've put in all our information, and we're going to get a customized list of all of the relief measures and supports that we know of that apply in Prince Edward Island, that apply to Farah's unique case as we've popped the information in. You can see that the CERB comes up, and that's defaulted to come up at the top just so people know about it, because that's arguably one of the most important benefits that are out there. And as you remember, Farah actually had a question about whether or not she should be getting the CERB or whether or not she qualifies. And so we can then dive in there to find out more information if that's of interest to Farah. I'll just scroll through some of the other benefits that you can see. We have the emergency wage subsidy on there, which is also an important one, not necessarily because individuals can apply for it, but because it's often quite relevant to people who might want to recommend it to their employer or might want to make sure that their employer is getting it if their employer is eligible. Because Farah also selected concern about paying her bills, you can see that many different things pop up here around changes to internet fees and services, cable and TV fees and services, and telephone fees and services. You can see there's childcare benefits as well, because she's indicated that she's taking care of children, and so forth. So this is a tool then that you can use to, at a glance, walk through with your clients to help digest which of the benefits we might want to learn more about and explore more deeply, and which ones just don't seem relevant to their situation. So, for example, if Farah actually doesn't have cable at home, she does all her TV watching through streaming services, then it doesn't make sense for us to really go deeper into what these benefits are, because they just don't apply to her. And the reason for having things laid out the way that we do is we wanted to make this as quick and easy for people to use to get a curated list of benefits. So we tried to stay away, as Janet mentioned, from a really, really detailed checklist that would take 5 or 10 minutes to fill out your situation to get a more filtered list, because we wanted to get people right to the benefits as quickly as possible, but still getting a useful list for them. So let's take a look at what one of these benefits look like. So for example, the COVID-19 Childcare Allowance. So if we're working with Farah right now and we're mentioning that, if you're a family returning to work, you may be able to get a childcare allowance of up to $75 per child per week between these two time periods. So let's take a look and click on Learn More to see what information we have on this. And you can see for every one of these benefits, there's a Learn More section. So we're going in here now. And now what I want to orient you to is, for every benefit we have 3 main sections. We have who can get support, how can I get the support, and what can I expect next. And so you'll find that for every benefit you look at. We also have a reference link up here, which will give you the actual government or private sector provider website where we got this information from. And this is often very useful if you have a much more specific question about the benefit than what's listed here. It's really a great idea to click on this reference link, and that will open it up for you and take you directly to the source page so you can find more information. So one of the things that we've been doing with how we've been digesting and talking about the benefits on the Financial Relief Navigator is we've tried to include what we see as the most important information. Because remember, our goal is to make sure that Canadians can learn most about the benefits that apply most to their situation, know how to take next steps, and know where to go for more information. So if we were walking through this with Farah, it would be really a good idea to just walk quickly through what are some of the qualifying or disqualifying characteristics that might make her qualify for this benefit or not. So for example, does she use childcare services in PEI? Are her children 12 years of age or younger is a really important one in this case for us to be exploring with her. Also, as you can see here, there's lots of information about which types of childcare expenses apply. Then, if Farah is interested in applying, we have information on what she can do to complete her application. So she needs to apply online, and here's the information that she needs. And also then there's information on what she can expect next. So as we get more information from each of the benefits providers, we update this section. And we've also made sure to include a key contact for benefits where we have those available, so that if you do have any more detailed questions, you know where to go to follow up and ask those questions. So we see this kind of a central portal that you can use to help have conversations about what benefits might best apply to the situation of the people you're working with, and an entry point to navigating to those full resource pages if you want to know more. So here on the Prince Edward Island government site, you can now see all of the registration forms, additional details, and things like that. So going back to our benefits listing, that's kind of the main way of using this first section, which is going back. You can use it to filter out certain benefits based on the situation you're encountering. you get a curated list, and then you can walk through this curated list to figure out which ones you might want to learn more about and actually apply for. Going back to our main page, you can also view all benefits, as I mentioned. So let's say we're working in PEI and we get someone who we fill out their information, but we didn't really find many results. Or you know, you're working in PEI and you just want to know what benefits are all on this tool. So this is a great way to do it. So we're going to click into this section. Again, we're going to select our province. And you can see we have a full listing now. This includes all of the federal benefits that we have, as well as everything that applies to PEI specifically. So you can see, I mentioned that we're starting to see some benefits coming up about people who are essential workers who may be living on low incomes. So there's a benefit there. Janet also mentioned that there's lots of information on how different programs work with the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. And so this is also a key one for you to know about, because it really varies from province to province and territory to territory. So this is an area where you can go to learn more about that. And if you had ticked that someone was receiving social assistance, this benefit would appear for you in the My Benefits section. So this is a place where you can go just to see the full list of all the benefits and supports that are on here. And the last thing I'm going to go into is the Share This Tool section. So if you're a frontline service provider, you can help share this tool with other people. And we have graphic buttons that you can display on your website that you can get by going to this section. So we're going to click in here. And the sample buttons we have here are for the for your website that you can use. All you need to do is fill out a little bit of information, and you can then select the button options you want, and then click Get Button to get this content. So that's our really quick overview. And what I'd like to do now, Glenn, if we can go back to this slide very quickly, is just share some quick tips about how to use this tool. And while you're pulling that up, we had a question come through about why the deduction for the employer is listed if Farah is self-employed. I think this is referring to the Canada, the workers subsidy. And the reason that we've included that, even though she ticked that she was self-employed, is because in this case, Farah had also ticked that she was still working, but had reduced, but her hours or her working had been reduced. So when we check that box, that's why that benefit shows up. So again, if it's not relevant to Farah's case, that's something we can chat with her quickly about and then move on. But we really were wanting to make sure that all benefits that might apply to a situation they ticked show up. So that's why you might sometimes see a benefit that doesn't quite fit their situation, because we're really trying to make sure that no stone goes unturned when people review the listed benefits. Thanks for the question. So the last piece I wanted to go into before we hand it over to Sue is just some tips for how to use this tool. Some of these I've already mentioned, but I think they bear repeating. Number one, make sure that you're checking all the situations that might apply. If you find you have a client who's working with you who's only telling you certain types of information, some of the questions there you can ask will help you get more information about them. Like, are you having trouble with rent, or are you concerned about that? Because you will get more benefits that pop up when you check that. Number two, senior has a pretty broad age range associated with it. This is because some benefits apply to people who are 55 and over, some benefits apply to people who are 60 and over. So generally, I would say if people are identifying as an older adult, it's a good idea to check that box as well. As Janet mentioned, the CERB and income supports work together and sometimes don't interact in some very important and specific ways, and those are important to know about. If benefits expire or there's no option for people to get a benefit anymore, we will delete them from the site, so you may no longer see them. And it's important, and this came up a lot in our user testing, to emphasize that payment deferrals that are offered by, particularly by, say, financial providers, by telecom companies, they often have long-term financial consequences. So a common misunderstanding that we're seeing a lot of is that a deferral means that you simply don't have to pay that. But often it means that you don't have to pay right now, but you may have to pay later. As I mentioned, if you don't get any results, try looking through the full list of benefits. Absolutely use the reference links to dig deeper into the benefits if you need. And lastly, please do embed and share this tool. If you think it's helpful and you think it's going to be helpful to get the word out to your clients and your organization, please do embed and share the tool. I will mention that we're seeing this as a living tool that responds to your needs and what we're hearing from people on the ground. And we're always looking towards how we improve, how we add new features, or make it easier for people to get the benefits and supports that they need. So we're really, really keen to hear your feedback as you share this and as you hear back on what works, what doesn't, and what could be better in the future. So I'm going to tee it up for Sue Collison now, who, again, we mentioned is at the Working Center, who's actually been using this tool already. Sue, I'd love if you can tell us a little bit about how you're using this tool in your context and what it means for your work.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sue. How are you? I'm so happy to be with you today. In early May, the hub at the Working Center was given the opportunity from Prosper to pilot the Financial Relief Navigator tool. We grabbed onto this lifeline and were eager to participate. It was a game changer for us. Let me take a brief moment to tell you a little bit about the Working Center and the hub. The Working Center has 3 downtown main locations that are deeply rooted in the downtown core of Kitchener, Ontario. As the city continues to grow and the downtown is revitalized, we strive to address the challenges facing those living in our community. The hub is located at the 5866 Queen Street site, which is anchored by the Job Resource Center and Employment Supports. Our hub, which I work at, consists of 2 main areas of support: money matters and access to housing. The Money Matters Help Desk is part of the Housing and Finance Hub at the Working Center. Anyone can meet with a financial empowerment problem solver to get assistance with income tax, budgeting, get connected to community resources, navigate government support programs, and problem solving. Our housing desk is a dynamic tool to help those with questions or needs around their housing situation. Key areas of support are focused around establishing a temporary safe shelter, apartment search assistance, budgeting and rent support, and accessing and connecting to legal supports. In late March and April, my coworkers and I recognized that our participants' world had been altered and their finances greatly affected by the COVID-19 crisis. We were exhausted in trying to keep up to date daily with the newly announced benefits and relief measures from both the federal and provincial government, in a time that we were also adapting to working from home and meeting with our participants over email and the phone. We found the new financial relief benefits were complex, so we welcomed the Financial Relief Navigator. This online tool has helped to ensure that the vulnerable people that we are working with have access to the critical emergency benefits and financial relief from governments, financial institutions, utility companies, and internet providers. My work partner, Ally, and I continue to use this tool daily for reference when working with participants to ensure that we are delivering up-to-date information and making sure we're helping these individuals make informed decisions as they navigate benefits during this time of crisis. We keep the app open on our phone, and computer to refer to it when we need to remember all the details about particular benefits, or when a person is experiencing a particular problem that we are not sure how to solve. We also continue to share this tool. We have shared it with participants, with our career counselors, outreach staff in the community. I referred it to an Ontario Works worker, to our frontline staff that continue to man the phone daily at the Working Centre, because we feel the information is relevant, timely, and we know that we can trust this information. One of the participants that we shared it with was thrilled as he spent hours reviewing the resources and found it very user-friendly and easy to understand. He, in turn, was able to share it with family, and they were able to apply for the CERB benefits on their own, knowing that they had met the criteria and would not have anybody asking them to repay this benefit. Laura, who answers the phone at the Working Centre and directs calls, has found the tool easy to use and user-friendly. At the Hub, we continue to use this tool daily to help our participants increase their income and reduce their expenses. As I said before, it has been a game changer for us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sue. That was really wonderful to hear about all the great work that you're doing at the Working Centre, but also how you've included this tool in your workflow in so many different ways. So thank you so much for telling us more. We've had a few thank yous come in already in the comment box, as well as a few questions, and so I'm going to open up the lines for Janet and Sue and Galen, so that we can throw these questions at you. And please, everyone listening, if you have more questions that you're thinking about, please, now is a good time to put them into that question box, and we'll get to as many as we can. Galen or Janet, I'm not sure who best to direct this question to, but can you speak to how quickly new benefits are added to the tool? Because I know for a while there, it seemed like every week there was something new. Speak to how quickly or how frequently you add material.
Perfect. Yeah, Janet, do you want to answer this one, or shall I?
Yeah, I can answer it, and you can add to it if you like. We're actually dedicated looking at this almost on a daily basis. We have 3 staff right now that are going through the benefits every single day. We split them up and go through the provinces and the territories and the government federal level, and scour looking for new benefits. We also rely on help from yourselves. If you see anything that we have missed, we have received information that way on new benefits to add them in. So essentially we're looking at it on a daily basis and trying to add them in and make corrections where you might identify corrections or if the benefit has changed. So we were finding in the first few weeks that almost on a daily basis we were making updates to the majority of benefits, and now it seems to have settled down a little bit, where a lot of them have settled, and then there's fewer new benefits each week. Galen, did you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. I think the only thing I would add to that is we recognize how important it is for this tool to be up to date and accurate and current. And so we are, as Janet mentioned, we have a team of 3 committed to, on a daily basis, checking into all these benefits, scouring government announcements for identifying benefits that might be coming up that we don't have any details on yet. But as Janet also mentioned, we also really rely on our community as well to help bolster and support those efforts. As I mentioned, this is a living tool. This is something that we are committed to continuing to keep up to date and make it as useful as possible and relevant as possible as the pandemic situation changes and evolves. And so we love and welcome all of your input and feedback to help us make it as useful as possible. And if you do see a benefit that's missing or something that you think should be included, please, please, please let us know, and we will do our best to get that up in the same day or in the next day.
Oh wow, that's great. So you guys are so quick, so on top of it. We have another question about if someone, and again, I don't know if this is for Janet or for Galen, but I think it's one of you. If someone is having difficulty navigating the tool, is there a number they can call, or is there a way that they can get help in some way?
I'll jump in on that, and maybe this is preempting our next conversation a little bit, which is great. But one of the things we're going to leave you with to discuss at the end of today is a bit of a conversation about what features might be really helpful going forward. So right now on the tool, we do have a number that you can call, and we do have an email that you can reach out to as well. So there's contact information listed at the bottom of the tool, but we really also see the value in having supportive agencies who work with people on a regular basis to navigate these kinds of issues. There's huge value in people connecting with those agencies, particularly as this tool goes more broadly to the general public. And so one of the features we're exploring that comes up there is potentially helping people navigate to supportive agencies that might be able to help them as well, because we can help them with the kind of use and navigation of the tool, but really see a strong benefit and value in them connecting with agencies that can help them actually get these benefits.
That's great. That maybe actually partially answers another question we received, which is, are there also listings for nonprofit credit counseling agencies or similar financial education supports?
There are not currently, but that will be a good thing for us to identify whether that should be a priority for us to focus on in our next phase of development.
Okay, great. That's good feedback for you right off the top. Janet, I think this is a good question for you. Does the tool include student benefits as well, and also international student information?
Yeah, yes, it does include student benefits. So specifically the ones that are in there that we could see were where they had the student loan, and the government and or the province or territory has also given relief in terms of deferring their payments. So where we could find student benefits, they are included. Like I said, if we've missed any, please feel free to send us an email or phone, but the answer is yes.
Okay. Yeah, a couple questions there about international students specifically. So, so yeah, that's good feedback for you that people are curious about that group. Another question, and Janet, maybe this is for you or Galen. Can you speak to updates regarding OW and ODSP and how that might be affected by applying for CERB or CERB?
Yes, we have that. Or sorry, Galen, did you want to take that one?
I was going to defer it to you if you want. So
yeah, so as Galen showed you in the walkthrough, there is that one section by province and territory which talks about the connection between CERB and the taking of OW, ODSP, and whether or not there's any negative impact.
Just to interrupt, actually, Glenna, if you could help me project my screen, I can show this feature while Janet's working through it.
Yeah,
I will do that right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Galen. So we're trying to keep on top of that, and because I think in some places some provinces there wasn't much guidance on what that would mean if you were already receiving, like in Ontario we do have that in there, but if in other provinces where they may be getting social assistance, I think at the beginning it wasn't clear guidance on what would happen if you were receiving social assistance and then you also received the CERB. So we're monitoring that, like we said, every week to see if there's any updates on that guidance, and when we do get it, we will update the site. So I think, Galen, you have it showing right now.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so what we have is, this is the information that we have from government announcements. So just shows some details about what happens. It's actually, as many of you are probably familiar with, it's pretty complex depending on your situation. So we've tried to distill it down into the core details But essentially in Ontario, some of your CERB payment is going to count as income for the purposes of determining your Ontario Works or ODSP payments, and some of your CERB will not count as income. And this is actually quite different from province to province as well. So again, recommend that if you have any questions about it, we have the full reference link here. I'm just going to click to where you can see the update from the government, and again, some additional places where you can go to ask questions or send an email.
Great. Yeah, and Galen, can you maybe just draw people's attention to the type of link, like how you got to that page from the tool, maybe, about how
yeah, thank you. Yes, Glenna is always around to catch me when I do things too fast.
No,
so
people need a minute when it's an online
yeah, so when we go to our full benefit page, so in this one, the title is How the Canada Emergency Response Benefit Affects the Ontario Disability Support Program, or Ontario Works. At the top of each of these pages, there'll be a last updated date, which will tell you the last time we made a change to this page based on new information that we saw. And then underneath it is a reference link. And that's where, regardless of the benefit, you can always go to the reference link, and just clicking on it will take you directly to the page that we sourced this information from. So that's how to do that in a bit more of a controlled and logical flow rather than me just doing automatically. As you can see, I've spent way too much time using this tool myself.
Yeah, you guys know the ins and outs of it so well. You could probably do this while you're asleep.
And if I could jump in on that one, Glenna, just kind of building on what Galen had said, a lot of times in some of the benefits, you'll see that it's very complicated process in terms of whether the person would be eligible for the benefit. So we've tried not to put too much information in here and kind of rely on that reference link, that if you think it is something that would be applicable for your client, then you can go to the actual source page and then work through. Because I think some of the government ones actually do it in a step-by-step type of, almost like a filtering type of application. So we haven't tried to replicate that in here just because of the complexity. So, you know, if you do see, I know we've had some feedback saying, oh, it's, you know, some of the pages are a bit busy. So if you do see that, then I do invite you to go to the reference and go to the site itself to walk through.
Great, thanks. It looks like Glenna might have muted herself, which is exciting.
Oh, yes, thank you. I was talking, but I was muted. Thank you for catching me. I was just about to say that we also had a couple questions there about can we get the link and can we get these slides and everything like that. And absolutely, we will be sharing everything with you. And maybe I'm just gonna maybe find one more question, and then we can go back to those last couple bits of information about how to access it. But we do have a question about languages. Someone asking about, is the tool going to be available in different languages like Spanish? And I know you guys mentioned it's going to be available in French. Can one of you speak to the translation and the timeline for that?
Sure. So the French version will be available on June 24th. They're currently, we have multiple language translation as something that's on our radar in terms of where we might prioritize our next efforts. But I think, as Glenna, you probably know, that's probably a really good segue into our next conversation. So the short answer is, translating it into other languages is something that we are considering and definitely have heard the value of. And what we would like to hear from you is, where should we be focusing our efforts in terms of new features and future features? So Glenna, I'll turn it over to you to lead us through the poll.
Yeah, thank you, Galen. I'm posting that poll now. So please feel free to select what you think is the most important feature to build out more of. And And if the answer is something that's not here, please feel free to type it into the question box. If the answer is all of the above, please type that in too. But if there's one thing in particular that jumps out as being most important to prioritize, we'd love to hear from you. And Galen and Janet, we had a few more comments and questions about the interaction between CERB and OW and ODSP. So I think we'll make sure that you guys get that feedback as part of your review. And if you're able to respond to anyone offline, that would be great. But at the very least, we'll make sure that you get all of those questions to inform your development.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, so we'll give you about 10 more seconds to respond to the poll. What you would like to choose. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close it in 3, 2, and 1. So it looks like a whole lot of interest in linking to those agencies and groups for other types of help, and that's definitely coming out right on top. FAQ is coming up second, and then other existing benefits coming in third. But that's really great information. Thank you everyone for voting on that. That really that's one of the most clear poll results I think I've ever seen on a webinar. So that's really great.
Yeah, so, thanks. I was just going to jump in and say thanks for all your engagement and feedback. And I think Glenn is just about to jump into this, but really appreciate you sharing that feedback, even in the context of this webinar, because it really helps us know where to focus as we keep looking at how to make this better and more impactful for Canadians.
Yeah, great. I think, yeah, Galen, you guys have just done such a great job, Galen and Janet, and Sue, thank you for showing everything that you've shown. A lot of people are commenting that this has been very helpful. There's also a good number of questions. The link is here on the screen for you. It's financialreliefnav.prospercanada.org. Feel free to navigate to it. Feel free to engage with the tool, use it, work with it as much as it is helpful, peruse the benefits that are there. Please tell us if you have suggestions or ideas for improvement, because as you can see, it's definitely a work in progress. Please also tell us if you notice errors. Janet and Galen are really on top of this, as you can tell, and they want the information to be as accurate as possible. So the more you can help us use it, the more helpful that will be. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We want to just reiterate that we will be sending you copies of everything that we've shared today, copies of our slides and the video recording. So if you'd like to share this out with your colleagues or other folks in the sector, we'd love for you to do that. We'll be sending you a survey after this webinar as well, so that you can tell us how informational you found this, any other comments or thoughts you might have. And please keep in touch. We'd love to share with you more information about what we're working on through our newsletter and through our website. So our information is there for you. Janet, who spoke today, is there as the primary contact for the Financial Relief Navigator. So please use her email or phone if you'd like to find out more and ask questions. And that will be everything from all of us today. So once again, we know your time is very, very valuable, and we thank you for spending this hour with us. We hope that you and your families and your coworkers are all healthy and safe, and that you remain that way. And we hope that you continue to do great work, and we look forward to hearing from you. So thank you everyone, and have a great afternoon.